Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a very good topic discussion. My name is Si Wing Yi, of course, and Julie is my co-host. How are you, Julie?
Fine. Good morning, Sewing. How are you?
All right, very good, very good. Today, of course, Julie, you have no clue what the topic is going to be, which is good, which is the fun part of doing
Exactly.
this podcast
I'm
together.
hearing it for the first time, like your audience.
Yep, that's right, that's right. So, Julie, so you are fairly savvy now. You were a rookie investor a mere 3.5 years ago, but now you have accumulated six rental
Yes.
cash flow appreciating property in the Midwest, namely Buffalo and Niagara Falls. So you only bought this 3.5 years ago. We're not going to go into details because we have talked about this on many other videos.
Right.
And so really, and by doing videos together, you are learning as you're talking because I'm mentoring you as
Yes,
well along the way, go through your long-term
absolutely.
journey. So
Hmm.
education, continued education is very important. So people need to be focused. People need to practice daily discipline. People need to allocate at least 30 minutes of their day to learn more about real estate. Just 30 minutes. This is not too much to ask. So today's topic, Julie, is the what are the in the today's current real estate environment with respect to real estate investors out there, what are the four mistakes people are making out there? Okay, let me give you one. The first one. The first one is because there's so much information out there with the advent of the internet, technology have changed so much. There's so much information. People they have a lack. Number one mistake, in my opinion, is a lack of focus. What I mean by that, lack of focus means there's so many different ways to buy investment property. Well, there are 1,000 ways. There are flips, there are syndication, there are burst strategy, buy, repeat, refinance, and or whatever. And then there are multi-units investing. Then there are wholesaling. There's just so many different types of information out there. You can learn by the click of your internet or the YouTube video. So by
Right.
the information is so overwhelming, an investor, even though they're doing a lot, they're learning a lot. They don't know what direction to go on. They don't know what I call it the buy box, quote unquote buy
Mhm.
box, BUYBOX buy box.
Right.
Investors need to narrow down to one specific buy
Right.
box. Then they have more clarity around their
Right.
goals and their strategy. For example, Julie, what I do, my organization, I'm focused on one thing for the past 20 years.
Right.
Our buy box, which you are clearly part of
Hmm.
it, is to buy turnkey, out of state, long distance,
Right.
almost remote, almost passive investment in a good cash flow markets that are affordable in the Midwest and in the South and Southeast.
Right.
Okay, and numbers make sense. And especially when you and we live in California, the highest, most expensive market. If you live out there if you live in a high cost market, your market,
Right.
it does not make sense to buy rentals with cash flow. It's just the numbers
Exactly.
just doesn't make sense whether you live in Northeast or you live in New York City or you live in the Boston area or
Hmm.
Washington D.C. or Miami. If you live in Chicago or if you live in the Seattle Pacific Northwest or in California, these
Hmm.
markets are so expensive. So when people go out there do their research, there's so many real estate gurus out there preaching their program, preaching this and that.
Right.
People have this analysis and paralysis. So as a
Right.
result, they have lack of focus. They
That
can't.
makes sense. That makes a
So
lot of sense. Yeah.
so what is okay? So with that in
That's
mind,
a very good. I just think that's a very good point because people, you might hear something over here that sounds really good. Now you're focused on that, but then you hear something else the next day and you're focused on that. And it's really important to decide what is going to be your focus because there's so much information out
yeah,
there. But I agree with you, and that does stop people
yeah.
from making a decision.
Okay, Julie, your turn. What is your second, the biggest mistake people are making right now for investors?
I think as a result of the first one, the second one is just not making a decision. I'm not sure what your second one is, but I think that's what it is. It's like you got too much information, so you don't make a decision at all.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Analysis, paralysis. And yeah, I see that a lot. And my personal experience within our network is similar,
Mhm.
especially when people hearing the negative doom and gloom by the crash bros out there, people preaching housing crash. videos out there and causing people to sit on the sidelines and do nothing. So that's yeah, you're right. The
Mhm.
second. Okay. So how do you overcome this doom and gloom, negative fear-based scenarios, Julie? What any kind of solution to that problem?
But it's interesting. I think with all the information out there, I think you have to decide what your focus is. Like you just said, you're not doing commercial, you're not necessarily doing 6 units or up, you're not doing flipping whatever, bird flip, whatever. So it's really just understanding what your tolerance is for risk. I have a very low tolerance for risk. So I did a lot of research in an area that I felt comfortable in. That's how we ended up finding you. And I needed to be hands off as much as possible because once I did all the initial work, the rest of it is seamless. So I knew what I was capable of doing. Some people like my husband's uncle, he's very hands on and he likes going to the place, finding the property, talking to the contract, doing all that stuff. And that's just not me. So you got to know what your tolerance for risk is, what your capabilities are. And I think a lot of people just hear all this information or they hear that, oh, you only need $1,000 and you can make $10,000 in 2 days or whatever, ridiculous stuff like that. And they don't, and they end up getting into something that they should, like we talked previously. Yeah, I think it's just figuring out what is your buy box, what is your target, what is your focus, and then getting the information that's going to only lead specifically to that
Yeah.
and not
Well,
everybody else.
yeah. To add to your point, Julie. Yeah, very well said. Look, yeah, you and I, again, we live in a very high cost market. I live in San Francisco Bay Area for decades, and you live in Southern California for
Mhm.
that, for a long time.
Mhm.
It's our buy box. We have to be realistic about our buy box. We can't go out there, Columbus, Ohio, and do a fix and flip.
Yeah, not gonna work.
We are 3,000 miles away, whatever.
Mhm.
And how, I mean, if you're going to do a fix and flip, how are you going to monitor the progress? Are you going to go there every weekend to manage the people, the crew, or how they, or the rehabbing? Or are you going to get down and dirty and work on the property and oversee what other people are doing? That's very unrealistic and very time consuming.
Most people, I agree. I agree.
For
It's
most
very
people, yeah.
unrealistic.
So
Yeah.
yeah, some people
Mhm.
can do it. Some people can do it.
Mhm.
Again, if you live in on your local market, for example, if you live in, let's say, Topeka, Kansas, or somewhere, if you're born and live there, yeah, the market, you live in the local area, so the market very well. You can very well buy your own property, fix it yourself, and manage it
Right.
yourself. That's fine. You
Right.
can even do this 10, 20, 30 properties. You
Mhm.
buy those rentals in your neighborhood. You already have your own buy box. That's fine. But again, if you're 1,000 miles away, long distance, especially when you have a full-time job, how can you have to pick the right strategy, the right buy box? And a lot of investors on my network that they watch my subscribers from my network,
Right.
they still don't have a buy box. That
Yeah.
they still don't know what to do because they are so overwhelmed and so paralyzed,
Information.
uh, and therefore they stay on the sideline and they do nothing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to know. You have to know what your tolerance is, what your buy box is, because otherwise you won't ever make a decision. Because there's always just buying a new car. Once you decide on the car or whatever, then it's like, oh, do I get the red one? Do I get the blue one? Do I get the black one? Oh, I saw a green one going down the street. You got to decide, like, okay, I'm going to get this car in black, and then you just go get it. Otherwise, every car you're going to want it. So the same thing. Yeah.
That's right. It's right. It's not easy, but each person, each individual, they have to sit down, look at themselves in the mirror, and just focus and narrow their buy
Mhm.
box and get comfortable, get some coaching, get some help, and ultimately take action. Because even today, there's never a wrong time to invest in real estate. Never.
I agree with that. I agree
There's
with that.
always deals out there, no
Mhm.
matter what.
There's always an opportunity, but
Mhm.
yeah, you got to decide what do you want to do, really.
Yeah. And the fourth one, I think the last one, I believe I lost track of the
I think it's for yeah.
yeah, the fourth one is, I think, even when somebody have a buy box, especially, and for example, okay, let's use example what we do. Okay, and okay, you buy from long distance. Most of our investors located in California,
Right.
some located in Seattle, some located in other high cost market. And I have,
Mhm.
and they have a buy box, and they have this unrealistic expectation. What I mean by that, they're so enamored with cash flow. They have expectation of what kind of cash flow they
Mhm.
expect
Right. Right.
because maybe they have a friend or relative 5 or 6 years ago have purchased a lot of properties. and those property have very high cash flow.
Yes.
Those rental property less 4 or 5 years ago, doesn't matter where they bought it. Let's say in Texas, for example, 4 or 5 years ago, a nice single family home rental in Texas is probably about 125,000, and it rents for 1,300. So meeting
Right.
the 1% rule, 1%
Right.
rule. A lot
Right.
of people, if you're savvy investors, you know what I mean by that 1% rule.
Yes.
That means the purchase price, whatever price you purchase, multiply by 1%. That
Hmm.
equals your gross.
Rent.
That is the metric. That's the benchmark for very high cash flow once you
Hmm.
put 25% down payment and so forth.
Right. Right.
Back in those days, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, the mortgage rate were like 4.5%. Median price for home in many areas of the good areas in the country, like Texas and Florida, were only like 150K. Then during the pandemic boom of 2.5 years ago, back in late 2020 and entire year 2021, and the first half of 2022, we have seen historical low mortgage rate, like 3.5% for even for investors, 30-year fixed rate mortgage they can get. And because the cost of money was so cheap 2.5
Hmm.
years ago during the
Hmm.
pandemic housing boom, the
Right.
people that purchase, they have achieved massive cash flow, right?
Right.
The property
Hmm.
they bought is like $200,000, a nice brand new single family home in a hot market like in Texas and Florida, in a market that we serve,
Hmm.
and the rent has went skyrocketing because of inflation. So they achieve massive amount of cash flow and massive
Right.
amount of appreciation for those
Right.
for those people that purchase. And
Right.
you and I experienced that. You did that.
Hmm.
You
That's
purchased,
right.
and I purchased back in 2020, 21, and 2022 also. So I took
Hmm.
advantage of
Okay.
the pandemic boom. I did some flipping also. A lot of people don't know that, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. So I did very well. The last property I purchased in Central Florida is a year ago. So I practiced the concept of there's never a wrong time to buy.
Right. Right.
I use the concept of dollar cost average, and I
Mhm.
also use the concept of be a contrarian investor, which you and I could talk about on the next video next time we do a podcast. But okay, getting back. So people buying right now, whether you are especially rookie investors out there, there's so many challenges working with rookie investors. They have unrealistic expectation. And also even savvy investors right now, current environment, they expect certain number that will have to make sense. If the number doesn't make sense, they're not going to buy. For example, okay, because of skyrocketing home prices in the past 3 years, a lot of homes that have in the past 3 years have increased anywhere from 50% to
Mhm.
100%, double in
Mhm.
value in a mere
Mhm.
4 years, right?
Mhm.
Which
Absolutely.
which not happen in many parts of the country.
Yes.
So currently, sometimes when I talk to investors, they say, "Oh, I want to buy a property, a brand new property in Florida I want to buy for $200,000, and I want to have a 1% rent to value ratio. So
Mhm.
I want to buy a $200,000 brand new single family home that rents for $2,000, 1%.
Right.
There's nothing out there that's like this.
Right.
So
Right.
those investors right now, they do not want to deviate from their
Mhm.
numeric buy box, if you will. So as a
Right.
result, they can sit on the sideline. You know what, Mr. Yi? Okay, since I can't buy a new construction with 1% rent to value ratio for 200 grand, renting for $2,000. You know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit.
Interesting.
I'm going to sit on the sideline. I'm going to wait until the housing crash, where those houses that I want come down to $200,000, and the rent will increase to $2,000. Then I'm going to buy.
Wow. Not gonna happen. They'll be very disappointed because that same $200,000 house will be 250 by the time they make a decision. So
Mhm.
they're back to square one when they could have had 5 years of growth and income coming in. And I think that's another good point. There has to be some flexibility, even with your understanding of what your buy box is, because if you're only looking at cash flow, like initially that was all I was looking at, you're going to miss out. And we've talked about that on a number of videos. There's so many other benefits to purchasing investment property. But if you only look at the surface and think, if I don't have this number, I'm not going to do it, you're going to miss a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, my thought is, to your point, is that you're not going to find single family home new construction at 200 grand. The lowest price point that I'm aware of is in Florida and Texas. It's still the best market, regardless of what
Hmm.
some people think. The lowest price is around $270,000. brand new construction, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, good market, and but the rent
Mhm.
is only going to be like $1,800,
Right.
$1,800
Yeah.
rent.
Right.
So you can only cash flow maybe a couple of $100. So not
Mhm.
very high cash flow, but some people think, oh, I'm putting $60,000 down payment on a 25% down payment, and I'm only getting $200 monthly cash flow to buy
Right.
new construction in Texas or Florida, whatever. Those investors, they don't get it, right? You and I,
They don't get the whole picture.
yeah, they don't know that a rental property is a multi-dimensional asset
Yes,
class.
absolutely.
They don't
Mhm.
understand that
Absolutely.
you're not only buy for cash flow. You buy for cash flow, appreciation potential, tax benefit,
Mhm.
loan
Mhm.
pay down, and your ability to leverage on a 30-year fixed rate loan at 25%
Mhm.
down payment. So
Right.
over time, everything will work out. Another thing is, oh, one more thing. Might as well let me add a fifth mistake people make.
Oh,
People focus too much on short-term cash flow. They,
very good.
they, they don't focus on the long term. Look, buying becoming a risk investors on is not easy. Okay, if it is easy, anybody can do it, right? Since so few
Absolutely.
people can do it, real estate investing is very lucrative. So
Mhm.
the barrier to entry is low. You gotta have good credit. You gotta have down payment. You gotta have a good job in order to qualify to get a loan these days. So
Mm.
at the end of the day, another mistake people make is they want to get rich quick
Yes.
scheme. They
Yes.
want to see results quickly. They want to see the
Right.
result. They want to see good cash flow, good appreciation, everything else the first few years.
Right.
What they don't, what many, especially rookie investors, the first
Mhm.
timers out there, especially even some savvy one, supposedly savvy one,
Mhm.
they make the same mistake. They don't. The first 5 years of investing in real estate is not easy. It's very challenging. You have to deal with all the issues with the maintenance, vacancy, evictions. They are going to happen no matter what.
Make it happen.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, you want to keep it at a minimum, but they have to have a long term perspective.
Yes.
Look, 10 years. You need 10 years to get the result. Most people, they want instant gratification. They're not committed to go through the blood, sweat, and tears of holding a property long term. They're not willing to look at the downside to all
Mhm.
their brain are not adaptable. They
Right.
panic. They quit when one thing goes wrong with their properties or something like that.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's the fifth biggest fatal mistake
That's
people
a
make.
that's a very good point, is not looking at it from a long-term aspect. Because that's something that I learned actually from you. I had to look at it like it's a business. And like any business, most businesses take 4 to 5 years before they even turn a profit. Ours was it's we began to get cash flow immediately. But yeah, there are some things, like you said, the turnover, the sometimes things break down, they have to be repaired. Those things happen and they will happen. Again, if you buy new construction, it won't happen as much. I bought older homes. You do have an occasional, but it's still we're in the market. We've experienced the appreciation. We've experienced the cash flow, and we're going to keep it for a long time. And then the longer we have it, the more all that will increase the cash flow and the value on the property. So it's just long term. Yeah. And I think it's like we've grown up not grown up, you and I grew up before microwaves, but in this, what we call microwave society, everybody wants it right now, today. And it just doesn't work that way.
That's right. That's what I said. I think that you pretty much recap everything. At the end of the day, it's a long journey. So you have to be mentally ready, physically ready. You have to overcome. There will be some issues, but
Mhm.
you need to invest in your knowledge, invest in
Yes.
yourself, invest in
Mhm.
yourself. Meaning that you have to have a positive mindset. You have to just block out all the negativity and stay the course. Don't let little things bother you. Don't
Right.
panic. Don't get frustrated and just stay the course and survive and overcome any obstacles along the way. So it's a long journey. You're not gonna like you and I said, you're not gonna see immediate results. Some will, some people will. You did a
Mhm.
little bit of some immediate result because you bought at a good time during the pandemic housing boom. But moving forward, the way I look at it, we're not gonna see any housing boom anytime soon. So it'll be a
Right.
slow appreciation. It's going to be a 2 or 3%, if any appreciation at all in the next couple of
Mhm.
years. But
Right.
you have to grind. You have to really grind
Absolutely.
and survive, right?
Absolutely. No, it's still the best industry in the world to be
Yeah,
in terms of just all the different aspects of the benefits. But It is long term. It is a definite long term
Yeah.
strategy. You
Okay,
can do
very-
it short term, like you said, you did some flips, but you're an experienced investor. Like you said, I wouldn't. Someone like me coming in brand new just a couple years ago, that's not something I would recommend for someone else being in the same place I was before. Yeah.
Exactly. Said Julie, thank you so much for your wisdom. And
Thank you.
yeah, with that in mind, you guys out there, if you see any value whatsoever from this podcast, please like and subscribe to, and comment below and see what are your thoughts about your experience. Let us know. Yeah, and also subscribe to put your email on my website below on the description so you can become a free member of our real estate investment community, the Real Estate Network. With that said, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.